Hey, what's up, YouTube? We're back at it again. So, like I said, man, in this series, I'm gonna make sure I get you something every day. There was a little bit of lag on YouTube's part as far as uploading the video. It's 9:34 right now, Saturday night. So, like, I'm gonna make sure I upload the video as much as possible, and every day, make sure I get you the information. Because, like I said, I want you to be able to use this information, take it and run with it. Because a lot of people gatekeep, and I'm not a gatekeeper, right? And I know it's probably gonna be people mad at some point for me sharing information because they had to go through the grind and get it and so forth. Okay, cool. We went through the grind and get it. Now go help somebody else get it. Because most times, and it's just like in college, just because the class is out there don't mean the student's going to go apply it. So even if I am giving out the information, one out of however many people actually watch this are actually going to use it anyway. But, again, I'm not a gatekeeper. I like to be straightforward and, to the point. So I'm going to make sure that the information I give you is something that you can use. So those who just now tuning in, I gave the story about my background, how I came up, in life and in the business, right? And so a lot of times, man, you see a lot of clickbait out there, right? And they talk about, making six figures, or some even will go as far as saying seven figures, but talk about making six figures in this business. And it is possible, and I've done it, but six figures in this business is not what you think it is, right? And it seemed like a lot when you don't have much, or maybe if you're young, coming out of college, or, you're just getting started in the industry, you hear six figures, like, what you mean? That's not a lot. Well, I mean, 100,000 is six figures, but as a business owner, 100,000 not a lot of money, right? So six figures could be deceiving. So it's, when people put that out, some people put it out as clickbait, and I put it out as a learning tool, right? Because I want you to understand that, yeah, you can make six figures in this business, but it takes a lot of work. And when you get to that point of making six figures, how are you making it? Because there's a couple of different ways to get there. But I'm going to talk about two different aspects of the business today. And one thing that you'll hear me talk about a lot is because I want people who get on this page, I want you to understand that you can start from bottom, basically. And I'm not saying zero, whatever bottom is for you, and then you can make it, right? But you just got to be willing to use resources, as I always mention, and make sure your relationships are good. If your name is good, your relationships are good, you can do some things in this industry and in the industry. And as I transition to our next business that I'm going in, with my siblings, I'm going to also show you that process because I believe that we can do the same thing, starting from scratch with just us three. And then, we'll show you the success of that business as well so that you can see that the principles that we use are universal, right? And so, like I said, I want to get back into the boot camps again because, again, when you're starting in this industry and you don't necessarily want to limit yourself to just personal training, you need to be doing boot camps, right? Boot camps are the way to help you build. And I started with a company that's a pretty big company, probably the biggest boot camp company in the States. I won't mention their name, but I started with this company when I was doing boot camps. Well, actually, let me back up. I did boot camps before, too. I did boot camps, independently. I did it with uh, a multi-level marketing company that's out there. I did boot camps before that company, so I knew how to do boot camps already. But getting with this company helped, right? And so I did boot camps before, but when I got with this company, it did a couple of different things, right? Uh, it showed me that yes, what I had been doing works, but it also showed me that there's other coaches out there who are working just as hard and what they do works too, but also that there's a lot of people who are not putting in the work, right? And so the way that I know that is through the results, right? When I say results, not just the results of whatever client I was working with, but the word of mouth and the way that other clients would want to come to the classes, right? Because I remember some of the statements that were being made among the clients, and so hearing those statements, right, it gives you confidence because you hear things about, oh, we didn't do this, we didn't do that, or I'm glad we're doing this, and I'm glad you added this to it, and the different aspects that I will add to it. And that's kind of what I want to tell you about. So like, if you're getting started and you want to do boot camps, I'm gonna say go ahead, go 100% on it, right? But don't just be the boot camp coach who always just does burpees and you always just do high knees in place and you just do jumping jacks and sit-ups. Like, there's so many things you can do if you structure it a certain type of way. And getting with that company showed me one thing as far as the level of commitment for people who do boot camps. Because some people love boot camps, so they don't want to go to a gym. They want to be tied into a gym, and I get it. And it's a whole nother audience. And I think I'm about to tap back into that just to show y'all, because I don't have boot camps at my gym right now, but I do have people who ask. And so I'm probably going to tap back into it. And this is, what's today's date? The 12th, I think, or 11th or 12th. It's the 11th, January 11th, 2025. And so literally January 14th, I can start boot camps again. I probably will, just to show you that you can grow boot camps and it's a different audience. And I'll show you that growth. But when I was doing the boot camps, I was able to hear and see some of the growth, right? And the things that were taught within that company were brilliant because they taught you certain things as far as yourself, like bringing out certain energy and showing up a certain type of way and being accountable and all those things, which that's needed in the industry, especially in the fitness industry. So that was one thing one tool they gave, and another tool they gave was a structure and how they ran things. And what I saw was not everybody did it, but it made sense to me coming from a strength and conditioning background to have structure within your boot camps, right? And so I started to make like my boot camps performance based, but still stay along the lines of the company, so that I'm not bumping heads and like not going against my peers and so forth. That I'm on the same page as them, but within those opportunities, I was able to do certain things and rise to the crop because I already been doing, especially on strength phase. So within the boot camp, let's just say you have a certain block that you're working with. Like in strength conditioning, we have certain blocks. So you can have a block for strength, you can have a block for metabolic conditioning, you have a block for cardiac, whatever it is you want to put your block in, or name your block, or however you want to prescribe the block, basically, right? But within that, just because it's a strength block doesn't mean it has to be completely all strength, right? Especially in boot camps, because how much actual strength are you actually training and gaining when you're doing boot camps? Because you have to think about it. We talk about strength, you're talking about time and attention, you're talking about a certain percentage of your maxes and things like that. You don't get to do that in boot camp because you don't have the tools. It's a boot camp. You don't have racks, power racks. You don't have all the bumper plates and things of that nature. But one thing I did do is I started investing. Whatever I could fit in my truck, I started investing in certain things to be able to challenge the time and attention methods and some of the other methods that are used for strength gaining, right? And so when you increase your knowledge, because that's what I did. I have a book. I just put the book up, right? But I have a book that I use that I always go to, and I always use undulating periodization with my athletes and any strength conditioning training I was doing. So I was like, let me try to add some of those elements to the boot camps. And so that's what I did. And so what I would say is find methods that make sense for you. Because this method that I was using as far as undulating periodization goes way back to me being an intern at TCU. I remember coming in, you got to imagine it's TCU here in Fort Worth, right? My hometown. Everybody wants to either, go to school there. They want to, be an intern, be a coach, GA, whatever position you can get. A lot of people, especially at that time, knocking the door down and get it. And so, and to compete for the position, uh, the um, the assistant strength coach had us go do an assignment, basically. So we had to go do this assignment, and whoever had the best assignment, I guess you could say, uh, that's who they chose. And I believe they chose two of us that I remember, just two of us, and then that was it for the most part. But and it's always like that, two interns get the position. So between me and the other guy, I'm not sure what he wrote about. I wrote about what I knew already, and then I also wrote about what I had started to explore, which just happened to be in line with what he was doing and how he structures his programs today, from what I could tell, which is undulating periodization, or a lot of people call it the West Side method, West Side barbell. Louis Simmons was the one who pretty much developed and put it on the map, right? And so I stuck to that, and I still stick to it to this day. I still use some of the basic periodization for my younger athletes, but when they get to a certain point, undulating periodization, hands down. And so I started using that within the boot camps. And that was back in 2007, I believe. So started using that same method within these boot camps. This was like 2017, 2018 or so. And I saw that it was working, and the people like they like the mix up of things, right? And so, especially with the sprints, because we talk about building strength, what better way to do it than sprints? We're outdoors, why not, throw a little clock out there, put some time, on the clock and say, hey, you got to make it a certain distance, certain time, or do a certain lift and a certain, calisthenics movement and a sprint. So now I get metabolic conditioning days where I can still do the same thing. So understanding those things is what helped me. So what I would say is make sure you have an understanding of what it is that you want to do, how you want to structure your workouts, things of that nature. Because in that way, you have opportunity to, express more movements with the members and then be able to help them to grow, right? And that's going to help you grow. So, and the reason why, again, I want to say boot camps, because you can start a boot camp, but literally your energy, going reaching out to people, showing up to a park, whatever it is that you find. I did boot camps at a movie theater parking lot. I did boot camps at a farmer's market, boot camps at a park, at multiple parks, boot camps all over the place. I can't even probably remember all the places we did it, but we did boot camps wherever we can go set up, right? And so what I would say is just make sure that you're available to show up to be able to go do the boot camps, and in that way you can start to grow. Because again, this costs you nothing but your energy, and if you really love what you're doing, and you know that you do want to be in a gym, but you want to be an owner and so forth, this is one of the ways that you can start to build You can get your revenue up without having a lot of overhead, a lot of people depending on you, right? But at the same time, you have, again, no overhead, no bills, no water bills, no plumbing to deal with, no business partners, no all the other headaches that come with it. It's just you, your energy, and people who want to show up. And some people stick to boot camps. And sometimes I think back, like, man, I could probably just stick to boot camp because that's how I started the company. It was an indoor boot camp when I opened the gym because we didn't have the weights and so forth. But it was always popping. And again, like I said, I'm gonna do it again just to show you that it works. But I would say do that, right? Now, if you know you want to transition, this is the other part of it. If you know you want to transition, keep the boot camps going long as possible, right? Keep the boot camps going because that's revenue coming in. You know those people are bought in. Find you a spot that you know you can go train at, not a spot that you want to go necessarily have for yourself. Now you can do that, and I'll talk about that in a minute, but find you a spot that's going to allow you to go pay a small fee, whether that be a contract fee as a contract coach, or they might want to take a percentage, which most owners don't want to do percentages because then they have to get involved and pay somebody to get involved with your business. So they typically would just say, hey, you pay a fee, you come train here, as long as you're not in the way and doing things that are disrespectful or nothing like that, you'll be fine. And so find you a spot where you could pay anywhere between, I would say, at a minimal, 250, 200, depending on what state you're in, but 200, 250 minimal for, small space, up to 500 or even $1,000 if you eventually want to do indoor boot camps at their location, or multiple people at a time, because again, you do have to pay for the space that you're using. But I would say start out small as possible, get the lowest rent possible. They say, hey, the rent is 500. See if you can say, hey man, I only have 2 or 3 people coming in. I'm not really set like that. Is there any way I could pay 250 or 300, whatever the case may be? They might work with you. Say yeah, they might say no. What's the worst can happen? They could say no, but you can go ask somebody else as well. And there's a lot of gyms. I would check, like CrossFit gyms. I would check all your local, not your big major gyms, because the big major gyms, yeah, they have people coming in. You might be thinking, if I go into the gym, I'm gonna get members. A lot of those members not that serious. A lot of those people go to those gyms and they're not that serious. You're gonna have some, but the ones who do go to those gyms, a lot of times they're not looking for guidance. They just want to put their headphones on, do their own thing. They really don't want to train or whatever. All right, cool. And there are some people in there, but when you work in those gyms, it's different. And they're not going to deal with independent coaches anyway. So find your independent gym, like a local CrossFit gym or just something similar, man, like a warehouse type gym. Go in, talk to the owners, and see if there's opportunity for you. And if there is opportunity, I would structure my days to where my boot camps still take precedent, and those are like my main things. And then I would start to schedule my PTs based off the schedule that I have available. Right? Some of us, we do a lot of things. Some people might have children. You might have things you got to do with the family. You might be in school, which I did for the longest. Like there's a lot of different things that might come into play. But now you have an opportunity, though, as almost a small time business owner, to start dabbling into making sure that your schedule is set. And when that's your schedule, let me just stop real quick. Your schedule, that is your master plan to success, right? When you open your phone up, you got your calendar on, it dictates your day, it dictates your week, your month, and so forth. So like that calendar is going to be very important. I'm sure you already know that, but if you don't know, you should be doing that anyway, regardless of what industry you're in. But we get back to the topic. Find you a gym that's going to allow you to become your own trainer, basically, where you're not under somebody. If this is the route you want to go to ownership, because again, what it's going to do is start to hold you accountable for transactions, making sure you have a system set up, some type of apps that you use to make sure that people are checking in, make sure payments on time, all those things that we talked about before, which you should have already practiced in your boot camps, you can now implement with your one-on-ones, if that's what you want to do. Me, myself, personally, I try to limit myself as far as one-on-ones. Now, although there's more money there, there's more time as well. And so, again, like I said last time, when you want to grow a business, think outside of yourself and think about the people that you're going to eventually employ, and think about all the bills that's going to have to be paid. You can only do so much with your time. So it's always try to focus on the group training. But I know a lot of us, we want to do PT and we want to get the extra money so that we can buy certain things, buy more equipment and things of that nature. So PTs can help. So what I would say is, again, find your place that's cheap enough that you can get in, get your feet wet, start to build your relationships with your clients, your one-on-ones, and then you want to make sure that you're accountable to these people year in and year out. I have clients that's been with me for years, right? And I have a couple of new clients, but for the most part, I try to keep the same ones, right? Because I know them, I know their goals, I know where they're going, and then that way we're on the same page. There's not a lot of high turnover. They know what to expect of me. I don't have to, and I'm not going to be anybody other than me, but I don't have to try to put on the face to train this type of person. That's like, this is what I do. This is how I train. And then we go, right? And so it could be, it's good. Like I was gonna say it could be good and bad, but there is really no bad, because just because somebody don't want to train with you doesn't mean it's a bad thing. There's thousands of trainers that go find somebody else to train with, but you want to get your tribe, your people, right? So stick to that. So find you somewhere that you can get in, pay a little bit of rent, build your clientele up, The next step would be, obviously, if you're trying to transition, when you get to a certain point, you need to see how much you actually can afford as far as rent. And my advice is to don't do what I did. I say that, right, but and I don't want to take you away from your dreams, your goals, but I'm speaking from experience. Don't step out too big too soon, because it's harder than what you think, right? And so, yeah, I stepped into a 10,000 square foot facility that I had to fill up, but I had the drive and the passion and all the other tools and the people and the relationships and all the other stuff to try to get it going, right? And it doesn't mean that it was easy. It was hard getting it going. It's still hard to this day, right? Because we're still building. We have to do certain things, but it's going, and the tribe's building. Like, we got people who trust in us the whole nine, but it's not easy. If I could go back and I understood business the way I understand now, I would have started small, and I still would have probably got to the same point, but with more capital and more opportunity to do certain things as far as, putting into the building and things of that nature. But again, I had an ultimatum, and nobody told me at the time what I'm telling you. I had an ultimatum given to me by the owners of the company. Hey, start your own company or stay with us. And I should have just said, okay, I'm going to stay with you, and just kept it on the low and kept doing what I was doing. But I was like, nah, I'm out. I had that, like, man, I'm here building for y'all. You're going to give me an ultimatum, and I'm helping you. You're not even here on the day to day. I'm out. I'm going to do my own thing, right? I should have calmed down a little bit. But so if I could go back and tell the old me, I would say, keep that job and build much as you can first before you leave. And so that's what I would tell you. Build much as you can first before you leave where you are. Go get something that you can afford, something that's not going to cost you. And I would say, even if you were making, if you had 10 clients and all those clients are paying on time, and then you had at boot camps, you had 40 people, right? And you were making, I don't know, depending on what you charge. Let's say you're making at a minimum $10,000 a month. If you had $10,000 a month, don't go get a building that costs half that. So you don't need something that costs $5,000 a month. You definitely don't need something more than that. I would say try to get you something anywhere between $1,500 to $2,500 a month. That's small, that you can pack out, that people basically are fighting over spots to get into, where you got to add more hours. And then when you get up to 20, 25K, 30K a month, I would say now let's go ahead and move to a bigger location. And you just keep replicating that based off of where you are and so forth. Why? Because there's a lot of things that happen within a business. When you're a business owner, you don't have, somebody that's paying you. You're relying on you to get the money. You're relying on the company to bring in the money. And if you don't do it, guess what? You're going to be sitting on reserves and so forth. Business loans, that's a whole nother topic. That's for another channel, because this channel, I'm trying to keep you away from business loans, trying to keep you away from predators, basically, because I midway in the business, I felt like I had to do that. And then I look back like, man, why did I do that, right? Because once you get to that point that you got to pay these people back, they take a lot of money from you. Like, they give you money, you think, oh man, I'm gonna use this money to do this, and then you look up and they're taking a lot more than they gave, right? And a lot of times it's not beneficial, especially when something like COVID hit or like anything happens, but you still got to pay these, because they don't care what happens, right? They just want their money. And you get, hit across the head a couple of times, things happen within the business, you're still responsible for it. You still got to pay those loans. My advice is stay away from those and start small, that you can be your own bank, small enough that you can be your own bank. So when things do happen to come up, you got your reserve to take care of whatever you got to take care of, and you build slowly that way. That would be my advice. And then the last thing I would say is don't be afraid to like team up. That's one thing I learned in sports. Like, teamwork matters, period. I don't care if you're a boxer and it's one-on-one in the ring. Guess what? You got a team that got you to that point. I do BJJ still to this day. Guess what? I have a team to help me train and get to the point of competing. It's a team effort sport when you're talking about business. And there's no way you could do it on your own. If you do, it's going to take you longer, right? And if you do it on your own, you're going to miss a lot of things that you could have seen had you had somebody helping you, or had you partnered with somebody. And so when I say partner, I don't necessarily mean paperwork LLC partnership, but again, when you're working at somebody else's facility and they have a brand built up and people are coming to this place and you're just paying rent to do your training, guess what? You can attach yourself to the success of that business and grow within that business without being shiesty, backhanded, stabbing. I've dealt with these type of people, so trust me, I know they exist, right? Some of them probably watching this video, and that's fine. Don't be that person, right? Be the person that goes in, build your business, do it the right way, attach yourself to the brand. And I don't want to say use the brand like in a bad way, but use the brand to your benefit, right? And build yourself up. And then also offer certain things as far as help. I remember when I was working at D1, which I mentioned before, I offered a lot of hours before I got the head coaching position. I was only coaching one, but then I would stay, I would hang out, do what I had to do to help or whatever, and I talked trash and I did what I had to do, right? But I also offered to help until it got to the point where I had to leave. And I didn't take people with me. One person came because he's my guy. He's been with me to this day. But for the most part, everybody else stayed. And a couple other people came later on. But I didn't just say, hey, y'all, I'm finna leave. Y'all come with me. Let's go. That's just not how it was. I was like, let me go build this business. It's 20, 30 minutes away, basically. I'm going to go build the business, do what I do with that community. And I started building, getting athletes from the schools in the area. Started training lacrosse teams and whoever else would come, baseball. Like, you have to have the mindset of teamwork is what I want, the point that I want to make. Because if you do that, you're going to take care of the people that's around you, and the people that's around you are going to take care of you. So attach yourself to a brand that you know you can build with. Don't go somewhere where you feel like you're going to be miserable and you feel like you got to walk on eggshells. Go be yourself. Be who you are with a company that's going to allow you to do it. Network, and who knows, that person who's taking over that business might want to step away one day and saw the work that you did and say, hey, would you want to step into a GM role or whatever it may be? And now you get a salary on top of what you're already doing. You never know what could happen. So that would be my advice. It's very simple. It's very easy in this business. But the thing is, you just got to be a good person. And I ain't saying you're not going to, make mistakes along the way, because we all do. But overall, just be a good person. Make sure you take care of other people, and you'll be successful. Team up with the right people, and you'll have the things that you need. It's your boy, Coach D. Make an excuse or make a way.